Hello everyone, be welcome to Evening with Gelda program. Today, I'm proudly to present to you all our guest, the brilliant poet and a kind person. I'm talking about David Palmer. David Palmer, 64 years of age, and a lifelong lover of stories, poems, and language. He was born in Seattle, Washington, on the Pacific coast of the United States. The majority of his adult life, he was a minister in 3 local churches. He has always loved sharing the stories people have to tell, and that led him into poetry, which is the written record of the songs of their heart. Wow! Be welcome, dearest poet. Come on, let's start our interview. David, tell us, were your involvement with literature and poetry something planned?
Hello, Gelda. It's my privilege to sit down with you this afternoon or this evening, or whatever that time may be, and to talk about some things that are very dear and near to my heart, including literature and poetry. Did I fall into this as something planned? I can't really say so. My first love of learning in college was history and religious studies, because I thought that I was preparing to be a minister. And in fact, I was a pastor of 3 different churches for 23 and a half years. But as I've grown older, something that has been what I considered at first a hobby has emerged more and more to be the center of my expressive life right now, and that is literature and poetry. I think that my thoughts were first captured on literature and poetry in college when I took a literary criticism class from one of my professors, Janet Bloomberg, and she opened my eyes to the task of the writer, the poet, the author, that being the one creating a structured reality of the world that allows people to think in terms of evaluating where their life is going and where it should be going. And so I realized there was something pretty special about this. So I got involved extensively reading at first, and then accidentally sitting down one day and writing my first poems. I wanted to be like William Shakespeare. That was a tall order, but it also was what got me started writing sonnets.
Which poetic style holds your attention the most?
I think that the poetic form that I like the most is the sonnet, because, well, Shakespeare was the godfather of sonnet writing to me, and I was intrigued by the way he could write and twist the movement of the poem through the lines and come to a surprising conclusion. I wanted to write like that. I really did, and I thought I would never have that opportunity to do so. But one day, just before Easter, I started thinking through some of the thoughts on what the season religiously meant, and I started writing poems. And wouldn't you know it, that within about 3.5, 4 weeks, I had written my first 50 sonnets. Now, would you like to see those now? I'd rather rewrite them so I could do a better job than what I did then. I was so green behind the ears. But I certainly loved it and pursued sonnet writing for a long time, until a very good friend of mine, in fact, whom I work with Beautiful Minds community on Facebook, Mary Chris Cabrera, told me that there are so many opportunities you would have in different poetic styles. Why don't you give a hand at trying them? I did and found I really liked them.
What's your current bedside book which you would like to recommend to your readers?
Currently, the style of poetry that I am most intrigued with right now and am giving more and more of my time to is the haiku. What is intriguing about it is that in the space of 17 syllables or less, the entire poet must be expressed. And it's a lot harder to come up with cogent, clear thoughts of great depth and spirituality even in only 17 syllables. But that's the trick. And that is what I really love the challenge of doing. So I would say that currently I am exploring my hand at haiku.
Of the three items, which one or which are you looking for to inspire your writing? Nature, the human being, or feelings and emotions?
Most dearly to inspire me in my own writing, I would say it is the feelings and emotions of the human heart. That is really the cutting edge of where everything of significance in our life happens. It is how we react to what happens around us, to us, through us, because of us. And so, to me, the essence of poetry and expression is giving voice to my response to the world in which I encounter life itself.
With the advent of computer technology, online reading is available to everyone. We know that. Do you think this has reduced the purchase of the physical one?
Do I think that one day e-publishing, Amazon, or books on the computer are going to replace paper books? Well, in one sense, it's true that having just moved to my new apartment and having to downsize and get rid of about 800 books and still pack about 600 of them here, I was pretty weary lugging all those books into this apartment. It certainly is a whole lot more convenient when all I have to do is close my Chromebook, and there the entire library is already portable with me. But one thing that ebooks cannot give is that sense of satisfaction holding that paperback or that paper book in your hands, feeling its weight, watching as the pages turn and you see the progress through the spine of the book, that you're getting closer and closer to the middle and then almost to the end. I think that, for one thing, there will always be that smell of the ink, the feel of the paper, and that sensory experience that I am in touch with an author, with his thoughts, with what he gave his sweat and blood and tears and energy to produce. I think that libraries will be around forever. I think that people will continue wanting to hold in their hand a brand new book. The children who receive a birthday present and open it up and find that it's brand new, it's never been opened, and it's a beautiful colored book, they're going to still be excited. Books are here to stay.
Cite the greatest poet of all time, in your opinion.
The greatest poet of all time? I bet you're thinking I'm going to say William Shakespeare, and you'd be almost right. I am really intrigued by the writings of the great John Donne, the Elizabethan or post-Elizabethan era dean of St. Paul's Cathedral in London. He was an incredible man who lived two different lives: a life of the poet, the renegade, the rebel, and then he got serious as he grew older and dedicated his life to his faith, and actually became the dean of St. Paul's Cathedral in London. He has a depth of poetry, both of his secular work and of his sacred work, and each one brings you to tears, brings you to a point of confrontation, brings you to a point of decision that something must be done in your life in response to what he is saying. So I would say Donne is my favorite poet of all time.
Which poets do you identify yourself when reading their writings?
I draw my inspiration for my writings more from history and historical characters and biography. Because, again, like I've said before, it is the development of the human soul. It is the journey of the mind. It is this discovery of that inner world of the soul. That is what intrigues me. And I have found that more through the pages of Scripture, through the pages of history, through the essays and explorations of the philosophers. And I have been very deficient in my appreciation of modern poetry. There are those who really speak to my heart. And I'm not sure I can really draw a lot of them to mind right now. They had ways of speaking to me that, like Dylan Thomas, that pointed out that while there may be a lot of wrong that is in the world and wrong within my soul, perhaps, there is more within to keep exploring. Like Dylan Thomas said in his poem, rage against that. Don't go silent into that good night. The soul should rage against the coming of the night. Life is a struggle. Life is a great desire. Life must overcome. Death is the defeat. And we must not give in to that.
David, what's your advice for those who are starting in the field of poetry?
What advice would I give someone starting out as a poet? Number one, stop worrying about the rhyme. It's not the most important thing about your poem. So many times I've seen poets try to write and they have forced rhymes into their poetry, and you can tell that it wasn't a good fit. Just simply give me your message. You can always go back and rewrite. You can always go back with a thesaurus. You can always look for synonyms, antonyms, and you can find other expressions to build into your poem. But that's for your second, third, and fourth, and fifth draft. For goodness sakes, start out and just write. Just write. Just give me your soul. In the end, that's what I want to read.
Writing about it is being an act of love or just academic information?
It certainly is my hope that what you experience with me is that I'm sharing with you an act of love, not an academic exercise. Poetry can be so stilted and so dry if it's just simply an assignment to get through for a grade in a class. Poetry is about life. Poetry is about the stumbles. Poetry is about the regrets. Poetry is about mistakes. But poetry is also about overcoming those mistakes and finding triumph. That is the soul of poetry. And so when I tell you about my story in poetry, I hope what comes through is an absolute love for it. An absolute love for a form that has taught me how to let my heart have wings, how to soar higher than ever before. That's poetry, and that's what we need to write.
And now, finalizing our interview, kindly could you recite a poem of yours for all of us now?
I'll share with you a poem I just wrote this morning. It's 14 lines long, so almost like a sonnet, but it only has what we call 8 feet per line. That is basically 16 syllables in which 2 of them are paired together, making 8 couples within each line. If you don't understand that, it takes a little bit more than right now in this interview to explain that. But this is a 14-line poem that I wrote today. My kerosene is almost gone. A wish for more precious moments. Oh, feeble light, illuminate and guide her heart back home to me. Is it raining? My cheeks are wet. These tears tonight could not be held. So wash, cleanse me, and purify that lips which taste only that lips which kiss taste only sweet. On pillows filled with eiderdown, support her dreams in soft pastels. O moon, tonight be not so pale. Supply color in full orb glow. As love is true, then this my wish. Our love be sealed with passion's kiss. Copyright 2021, David W. Palmer. Always include your copyright when you write a poem. You want to preserve the integrity of your intellectual property.
Wow! This was really a great moment interview. Thank you so very much, esteemed poet. Hope you have enjoyed it too. And you guys, you know we have a date on the next Sunday. Okay? See you there. Bye-bye.